everyone. I'm John Evans. Welcome to another episode of One-on-One. Takayo Siddle became the head coach of the UNCW men's basketball team in March of this year. Since then, along with the X's and the O's and all of the duties of being a basketball coach, he's had to worry about keeping his players and his staff free from COVID-19. And so far, so good, as he works to restore the winning ways of the Seahawk program. This is the chance Takayo Siddle did not get 3 years ago. It's the chance he has said he's always wanted and that he's worked more than a decade to prepare for. UNCW head men's basketball coach Takayo Siddle, welcome to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast, Coach.
John, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. It's good to see you again as the head coach at UNCW. Saw you many times when you were an assistant, but now you're the head of this program. What's the difference?
Right now, people always ask me that, and I say, over the last few years, I've been preparing as if I were a head coach, and I always give praise to Kevin Keats, who groomed me and gave me a lot of freedom and helped me get to this point. I'm making the decisions versus giving suggestions now. So that's the only difference. I always said when I become a head coach, I want to have the same mentality as I did when I was an assistant. Assistants get dirty. They get down in the trenches with the players and in workouts. And so I take that same mentality. Yes, I'm the head coach now, but my mentality hasn't changed at all.
So are you still doing some of the same things that you were doing as an assistant because it was kind of in your blood to do them, or do you find it difficult to delegate some of those tasks that you used to do before?
Yeah, no, I'm really good at delegating, but when it comes to, I love player development. So all of our individual workouts, I'm running them, but I do delegate my, different responsibilities to the guys on my staff because I trust them. That's why I've hired them. And they're doing a really good job for me.
You know what mid-major basketball is like. You played at one, you coached at one as an assistant coach. You went to NC State, but you know what life is like at a mid-major. And the fans of the Seahawks are kind of used to coaches coming in. If they do well, they're here for a couple of years, and then they're gone. You signed for 5 years, and I don't want to hold you to every day of that 5 years. But are you committed long-term to UNCW? Is this a place where you could see yourself staying for a long period of time and maybe past that 5 years?
Yeah, John, I tell people all the time, and I truly mean this, UNCW is in my blood. I consider this a dream job, and I love it here. I love Wilmington. I love the university. When I took the job, that my mentality was I'm here at UNCW to get the program back rolling, get us back winning championships. And that's my main focus. I'm not thinking about leaving. This is not a stepping stone job for me. I'm here. I love it here. And I consider this a home for me.
In the fraternity that is college basketball, Coach, to get a job, sometimes somebody has to lose a job. My guess is you may have known C.B. McGrath a little bit before this all went down. What is that like? Is it awkward if you come across or talk to him? Have you talked to him? What's that situation like in the fraternity that is college basketball?
You mentioned it. These jobs are hard, and I understand that. And you get jobs in two different ways. I have no hard feelings towards him, no ill will towards him. And he probably feels the same way about me. I wouldn't say it would be awkward on my end. I respect him as a basketball coach and as a person. And I'm sure there are things that he can help me with because a lot of these guys who are my players now, he recruited. So I don't think it's going to be awkward. At least it's not going to be on my end. I haven't ran into him yet. A guy on my staff has. But it's all love over here.
It is. It's sometimes those of us who, have never kind of experienced that have to wonder, oftentimes right place, right time. But in some instances, somebody gets a job and leaves like Coach Keats did. And then other instances, somebody doesn't do so well. And I just wondered what that was like, maybe coming in after somebody like that. You're already talking about rebuilding, so it seems to me like you're moving forward and not even looking back at that past 3 years.
Right, and that's what I told my guys. I had an opportunity over the summer when we were doing our Zoom meetings, and we talked about some things that happened over the course of the last couple of years. And after we finished that conversation, I told them, that's it. All right, we're moving forward. You guys got it out. You vented to me. We're moving forward. We're not going to talk about the guys off the last staff and what they did, what you liked, what you didn't like. We're moving forward. This is a new era now, and we're chasing after winning championships, and that's our main focus.
Now, you were here before under Coach Keats, and when he went to NC State, you were named the interim head coach. It worked out that you didn't get the job. Take me back to that time. Was there anger? Was there disappointment? Was there realization that maybe I'm not quite ready? But what was that like for you? And obviously you didn't hold any ill will because you came back 3 years later.
There was no anger, no ill will. I felt professionally it was important for me to go down to Raleigh and get that experience at a high major and get another, few years under my belt. I felt like I was ready at the time, but after waiting 3 years, looking back on it, maybe I wasn't quite as ready as I needed to be. When I took the job in March, I knew I was ready then. I knew I was ready. So I love Jimmy Bass. I love Chancellor Sartorelli and the whole athletic department. Love those guys, and we were able to build a stronger bond when I was in Raleigh for the 3 years. We kept in touch. I consider Jimmy Bass a really good friend of mine and a really good mentor of mine. So there was absolutely no ill will. I think it benefited both of us, both parties for sure.
Now, obviously, I think you would have liked to have come in under normal circumstances, but in 2020, nothing is normal, as you have probably seen. I'm sure you would like to just be a basketball coach, but you're more than that now with COVID restrictions, with young men who have come to college thinking, wow, I'm going to college, I'm going to play basketball, but it's college, so there's a lot of college life. What has that been like for you? Because you've had to be, I would imagine, more than just a basketball coach.
I have, and we talk about it all the time, John, and you know this with your family. We all have to make sacrifices. And that's the thing that we've been talking about a lot with the COVID going on, and with basketball, the basketball season being right around the corner. My biggest thing with our guys so far has been, I know that you want to be a normal college student right now and go out and interact and have a social life, but it's different now. You're going to have to make a sacrifice. You can't do the same things that you would do under normal circumstances. So we've been talking about making sacrifices in life, in basketball. And, so far we've been doing a really good job of it. Just trying to mentor them and show them the bigger picture, when it comes down to life and basketball for sure.
But you're only 33 years old, so it's not like you're my age and you're sounding like, well, let's face it, you're sounding like the older father figure. You're young enough, I think, that you could probably relate a little bit more to these young men. Are you trying to use that along with being the coach, but use that, hey, I was in college not long ago. I know what it's like. But trust me, this is the way you've got to do it.
Right. No, I'm 34 too.
Oh, okay, 34.
Thanks for taking a year off. I'll take that. But no, it is. I can relate to those guys at a high level. And that's why I think, for me, I'm a player's coach. And I think they feel that so far that I can relate to them. And, so for me, I still like to, go out to dinners and, interact and be social. But I told them, I used myself as an example. I can't do that anymore. All right. I can't do that anymore under these circumstances. You guys have my word. I'm going to make the sacrifice, not going out to dinner, and going out to different restaurants like I normally like to, and having a social life. I'm locked in. I'm making a sacrifice for this program, for you guys, so I can be available, so I won't get a positive COVID test. I need you guys to do the same. And they understood it a little bit better when I put it in those perspectives for them.
Now, you grew up in the Eden area of North Carolina, so you're not far from home. How has it been with family? Obviously, you've got you've got a family and concerned about maybe some older relatives and COVID. How is your family doing in this time?
Yeah, my family's doing well. My family's doing well, and my mom, she's always on me. Make sure you wear your mask. Make sure you wash your hands. Stay inside. But they're doing well. I haven't been able to see my family as much as I want to and as much as I need to. So that's been tough on me and tough on them as well. But everybody's doing well so far.
What was it like growing up in Eden, North Carolina? What was life like around the Siddle household?
It's a small town, not a lot to do. So, I stayed busy playing basketball, playing football, and doing some other things. In a small town and anywhere for that matter, it's easy to go in the other direction. But we stayed pretty busy. Mom is a hardworking lady who, cracked the whip every time, I got out of line. But she did a great job raising me, and I wouldn't be here today without her. So, small town guy, and I'm real simple, country boy, and, I'm real easy to please.
You sound a lot like me. The small town I grew up in Pennsylvania had more churches than stoplights in it. So I'm right there where you're talking about.
Absolutely.
When did you develop the love for basketball? You said you played sports as a young man, but when did Takayo realize that, hey, I may be able to play this on a higher level?
I think I started realizing it a little bit when I was in the 7th grade. I played both sports in middle school. I played football and basketball. But when I got in the 7th grade, I thought I was a little bit better on a basketball court. And then when I got transitioned from 8th grade to going over to high school across the street, I said, I'm not playing football anymore. I think I can have a future in basketball. And that's what I did. I committed myself to it. And, it opened up a lot of different avenues for me.
Well, like most young men, we all have that basketball player that we emulated growing up. For me, now I'm going to tell you how old I am here. Mine was Dr. J, okay? The red, white, and blue basketball, the ABA, the 70s, all that kind of stuff. Who did Takayo want to be like? Who did you maybe pattern your game like, or when you're out on the court outside, you try to do the moves like what player?
Well, I love Kobe Bryant. I grew up watching him, and it's hard to emulate that. But as much as I could, I did. But I love Kobe Bryant. He was one of my favorite. He is my favorite player. So he would probably be the one that I try to mimic my game after.
You went to Hargrave after you played at Moorhead High School. 27 points a game you averaged as a senior for Coach John Harder. I read somewhere, or I might have heard you say in another interview, that you wanted to play at UNCW at the time, but you weren't good enough. 27 points a game as a senior, I would think you're good enough to play at the mid-major level. Why not UNCW?
John, like I told you before, this has always been a dream place for me. And I wasn't quite good enough. I was an undersized two guard. I'm a 5'10" two guard. I could score. But at the time when UNCW was rolling, they didn't need my position. They didn't have a need for a 5'10" two guard. But after high school, I went over to Hargrave and played for Kevin Keats, and they recruited me a little bit, and they didn't pull the trigger, but I ended up where I was supposed to be, and then it came around full circle, right?
What's Hargrave like? Is that for every student athlete, coach, or is that just good for specific ones? I've never been there. I don't know much about it. I know it's obviously it's notoriety. I know Coach Keats was there, but what is that like playing basketball? You're away from home, I take it, right?
Yeah, you're away from home a lot. You live there, and you don't have many weekends to where you can go home. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But what I went there for is I needed some structure, both in the classroom and on the court. On the court, I needed to play, better competition and see where my game really was. And academically, I needed to get my test scores up and get more structure in that area. You wake up at 5:30, you march to breakfast. Before that, you make your bed and you march to breakfast, you march to lunch, you march to dinner. And in between all of that, you're going to classes and, you have basketball workouts, practice. So it's pretty structured. You have study hall late night from 7 to 9. It's exactly what I needed. A funny story here. And we were talking about my mom earlier. She, it was my first time being away from home. And, I called her, for a week straight. And, we had a conversation at night. And the second week I was there, I told her, I said, Mom, I don't think this is for me. I think I'm ready to come home. And she hung up the phone, and I called for 2 weeks straight after that, and she never picked up the phone. And by that time I had got adjusted. So I was, I was excited to be there, and I didn't need to come home anymore.
Wow. Talk about some tough love from Mom.
Tough love. But I needed it at the time.
Wow, that's a great story. And what would she say now if I asked her about it?
She would say, I had a plan in mind. I knew you were going to call. I knew he was going to call because I know he's a mama's boy and I know he's a homebody. But I knew if I gave him some time, he would get adjusted.
That's an awesome story, Coach. I appreciate you sharing that. What was it like? Can you remember your first meeting with Kevin Keats?
My first meeting with Coach Keats was in the gym. My first day when we got there, we had to play pickup. We played pickup. So you can just imagine a high school kid, having a summer to himself and then coming over to Hargrave. And I was terribly out of shape. I thought I was in shape. I had no clue. If you know Kevin Keats, his type of shape is completely different than the shape that you think you're in.
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
Playing pickup, and I thought we were done. Playing pickup, and he goes, all right, put the balls up. Get on the baseline. And he put 20 minutes on the clock. I'm like, he's going to talk to us for 20 minutes. We're going to walk through some plays for 20 minutes. And he goes, you got 20 suicides in 20 minutes.
Ooh.
And from that point on, I knew this is going to be tough, but it's going to get me ready for the next level. So that was my first encounter with Kevin Keats.
I remember suicides. And the coach that I had in high school, he was a defensive guy. And the coach that I had in high school, we'd go 2.5 hours at practice. And then he'd put somebody on the free throw line. And, whether you liked that kid in class or you didn't like, you wanted him to make that free throw. Boy, you were pulling for him. And if he didn't, it was another suicide. And you kept running them until we made 5 in a row. That was his thing. 5 free throws in a row, because he figured the pressure from your own teammates was going to be bigger than any pressure you faced outside the game.
We still do that. We call it Hargrave free throws. Hargrave conditioning is what we call it.
Really?
We line up on a baseline. You get 1 and 1. All right, front end of the 1 and 1. If you make it, good. If you miss the second one, you got a down back. But if you miss that first one, you have a suicide. So we still do that.
Man, I thought maybe it was just my coach that was trying to get us in shape. It sounds to me like a lot of coaches do it. You went to Gardner-Webb. When did coaching get on your radar? When did Takayo think, maybe I don't have a career? I guess you were a sociology major. When did coaching become something that you got interested in?
I think, I was in my senior year, my last year of college, and I was thinking, what am I going to do next? The season wasn't going the way we thought it was going to go. And I'm one of those guys I observed. And I'm thinking, I know I want to be around the game. I know I want to stay around the game for a while, whether that's player development, whether that's coaching. So, I decided, hey, I needed one more credit after my senior year. Some things that got screwed up on my transcript, so I needed one credit. And so I went back for that summer, and I was working at the Polo Outlet. I was about 15 minutes away, and I said, okay, I know I don't want to do this. No knock against people who work in retail. I said, I know I don't want to do this. And so I called Kevin Keats, and I said, Coach, I need your help. I'm trying to figure out what my next move is, and if you got a position, I'd like to come and work for you. And he said, give me a couple days, and I'll call you back. I might have a spot on my staff. And that's how it happened. I went and I worked for him for 8 months at Hargrave, and then I was blessed enough to come back and work for Chris Holtman, who's the head coach at Ohio State. I was blessed enough to come back and work for him at Gardner Webb for 3 years.
What do you think Kevin saw in you that he gave you that opportunity, Takayo?
Yeah, I think we're very similar in a lot of ways. We're business. Every time I stepped on the court for him, I gave it everything I had. Kept my nose clean off the court. I handled my business academically. He didn't have to worry about me at night when he was, at home with his family. He knew I was going to do the right things. And I punched the clock every day. I think that we just had an instant connection, instant chemistry when we first met each other, when I went to go work out for him, right out of high school. He called me the same day and offered me a spot on his team. And from that day on, man, we were just connected and had a good chemistry about, in between both of us. And, we're going on I met him when I was 18. I'm 34 now. So, I consider him a father figure and somebody that I look up to, and he's been a great mentor to me.
What is it about his style that you've learned the most? Obviously, he's been the boss, and this is your first opportunity. But what have you tried? What have you taken away from him that has made you a success? First, as an assistant coach and a recruiter, from what I understand, you're top 5, top 10 in the country recruiting-wise. But what do you hope to emulate from him as a head coach?
Just the way he deals with people, and not only the players. He's great with the players. But just everybody, you know him very well. Just everybody in the community, everybody in the athletic department, on campus, the students. He's really, really, really good at. He's got really good people skills. The way he runs his programs, he's structured. He's very organized. He knows what he wants to get done. He's that type of guy, and I learned so much from him. I could go on for hours and hours, but I'll take a lot of things that I learned from him and use them on my day-to-day here. Use them on the court with my guys. So he's a guy that I look up to, and if you were to come around, I'm sure you will soon. You'll see. We got similar ways that we do things. So. I can't say enough good things about it.
We've gone 25 minutes or so already, and I haven't talked to you about one player. I haven't talked to you about one theory of basketball. I'm really getting to know Coach Siddle. So tell me about this team. Tell me about the guys you have. What are your expectations? Are you having to guard expectations because of everything that's impacting these guys? Or do you have high expectations for them?
Well, I wouldn't say they're high or low. John, I don't want to put that pressure on my guys. But what I will say is my expectation on a daily basis with my guys, and they know this, is that they give me max effort with everything that we're doing. And to a man, they have been giving me max effort. My expectations and goals for the season is I want us to get to a point where we're playing championship level basketball and competing at a high level. And I think if we do that, we'll have a chance at the end, to get the program back to where we had it a few years ago. I love my players, and they know that. I love them as people. I love them as players. They are, we got a deep team. We got a deep team. where we can go 10 or 11 deep if we wanted to. And, we have good size. We have versatility. I think we'll be a good shooting team. Now, we have to pass the ball better because they say good shooting teams are good passing teams as well. But, we still got to go through the fire. We still have to go through the fire, and I need to see how they respond to adversity. So we got a long ways to go, but right now, today, they're doing everything that I'm asking them to do at a high level. They're going extremely hard for me. So I do like this team a lot. Now, only time will tell, but I like where we're going right now.
You're playing weekend basketball now, from what I understand the schedule-wise, right? You play the same team twice back-to-back on weekends. Is that changing how you prepare? Can you prepare? I mean, this is not the way it's usually supposed to be.
I don't think anybody knows how to prepare for that.
Yeah.
I think when you think about playing back-to-back, you immediately say, okay, how are we going to get the rest? How are we going to adjust from game to game? We still don't know what that looks like. So we're trying to figure out the best way for us to get them ready for, from a Saturday game to a Sunday game. So it's kind of up in the air right now. But I think with our style and the way we play, teams will have a hard time preparing for us and being able to keep up with the pace that we like to play at. I do think it'll be difficult on teams when they're preparing for us. With the way that we play, we like to try to take teams out of the offense they're trying to run. So I think that can help us a little bit, but it'll be challenging. But I'm hopeful that we'll figure a way out to get it done.
That's the key word in 2020 is challenge. We talked a lot, Coach, about the pandemic. We talked a lot about other things, but this year has also been difficult for other reasons, and the death of George Floyd and the calls for racial equality. You've talked to your guys and you've had to get on them and really kind of stay on them as far as being cognizant about the whole pandemic. How much do you talk about issues like the calls for racial equality? And they're seeing these protests go on across the country, and the Black Lives Matter movement, which really has gained in effort since the death of George Floyd. Do you talk about that with your young men?
I absolutely do. And I think as their leader, as an African American, I feel like I have to talk to them about it. And we have had open discussion about it. And what I wanted to express to them is that, hey, listen, I'm here, our whole coaching staff, we have your back. And we want you to feel comfortable opening up and talking to us about it. And whatever it is that you stand for, whatever it is that you want to do, if that's peaceful protest, we stand right behind you. And I wanted to give them an open platform to just talk about it. And I want them to feel like it's okay for them to voice their opinion and do it the right way. So that's something that we do talk about it often. And I know some people say they talk about it one time just to get it out there and just leave it alone, but it's something that I want to make sure on a weekly basis that we're talking about with our guys because, we're all going to vote. We all are registered to vote. We're going to vote on November 3rd, and we're taking that day completely off from any athletics, and we're going to vote. And I think that was one of the things that I told them is the first step to us, making a change, and we just want to do our part. And, so far, everything's been fine, and they feel comfortable. I want them to feel safe and to know that we have their back as a coaching staff.
Do you encourage them? I mean, I know social media, good gracious, what social media has done to this country is we can do another 4 or 5 hours on that. But do you encourage them to take stances? Do you encourage them to speak out their mind? But with the caveat that, if you speak out, you might catch a little flack for it.
I won't necessarily say I encourage them to do that, but I let them know it's okay. If they wanna protest, I just tell them, hey, let's do it peacefully. Okay, let's do a peaceful protest. If you want to voice your opinion, I want you to do that. We haven't talked about, hey, are we gonna come out during the national anthem? Are we gonna kneel or anything like that? I don't want to open that can of worms right now, but I did tell him, like I told you before, my main thing was I have your back.
Mm-hmm.
We have your back. And if there's something bothering you, if there's a stance that you want to take, let's talk about it and see what's the best way it is for us to move forward with that.
Who's been the biggest influences in your personal life and your professional life?
My mom in my personal life for sure. My mom's my rock. She's been everything to me. And I tell my guys all the time that, like, have you called your mom today? You talk to your parents often? Like, me and my mom talk every night. And when I don't call her or text her at night, she's like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you call me last night? So my mom, 100%, 100%. And, from a professional standpoint, my high school coach, John Harder, he got me started into this whole coaching thing. He put that idea in my head. He told me a long time ago, hey, you're going to be a hell of a head coach. You're going to be a hell of a head coach one day. And, when you're young like that, you're like, thanks, coach, but you really don't think too much of it. So he's been huge. He's been huge. And then Kevin Keys, I wouldn't be here today without him. I feel like I owe him the world. He would tell you different, but he's been huge in my professional career. And then Chris Holtman, he gave me my first shot as a 22-year-old, 21-year-old assistant coach who had no idea what I was doing. He took a chance on me at Gardner Webb, which is where I went to school at. And, he believed in me. And so those guys have been huge to me in my professional career. And my mom has been huge for me in my personal life.
How important is it to you then? This is one thing that I've tried to do when I handle and deal with interns, whether it be UNCW or UNC, no matter where it is that you try to make sure the next generation is better than you are, that they know those little things. Is that important to you, to bring along that next generation, not only of player, but of community member and head coach?
It is. And, one thing that I did, one of the first things you do when you get your staff intact is we had a meeting and I said, for everybody in our program, so if you're the top assistant or top guy or whatever role you're in, I want you to grab a guy, whether it be a manager or whether it be the assistant up under you, and I want you to mentor him and show him the ropes. And what I want to do the same thing as the head coach and just show them what it looks like and mentor them and give them an opportunity. One day I'm really, and one thing you'll learn about our family here is, I hired Craig Ponder, who was a former UNCW player. I want to hire former players and people that I know and people that I trust. And I want to give them opportunities to, fulfill their dreams. So that's huge for me. And, I talked to Jordan Talley about coming back on one day to be part of my family, be a part of the program. So that's one thing that I believe in, being loyal to the people that are loyal to you, mm-hmm. and helping those guys reach their dreams and goals.
This has been a kick for me to get to know Takayo Siddle. We could have talked basketball, but I think it's what I try to do with these interviews is get to know the people behind the job. People are going to see you and they're going to hear you call out plays, but they might not know that Takayo Siddle calls his mom every night, or that his mom hung up on him for 2 weeks at Hargrave Academy to make him a tough guy. Coach, I appreciate your time today. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed it.
John, thanks for having me. I hope you have a good rest of the week and good weekend. And tell your family I say hello.
A big thanks to Coach Takayo Siddle for taking some time out of his busy schedule to sit down for our interview. You can follow the basketball program as they prepare for the upcoming season at uncwsports.com. And Coach Siddle is active on social media, especially on Instagram and on Twitter as well. Now, before we go, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please download and subscribe to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast on whatever app you use to listen to your favorite shows. And if you would be so kind, please leave us a rating or a review. The more feedback we have from friends like you, the higher we'll be listed on all the apps. The better chance we'll have of bringing in even more new listeners. I'm John Evans. Thanks so much for joining us for this week's episode of One on One. Stay safe.